What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Forrest the Investor here. Today's video is a little bit different, kind of just a random vlog. I wanted to talk about emergency funds because I tore my left Achilles heel. If you don't know, or my Achilles tendon I should say, if you don't know, what that is, it's just a thing that goes in the back of your leg. This is my leg right now, if you can see it. A little peek into my, dirty desk or what have you, but yeah, tore that dancing. I'm a b-boy as a hobby. I'll put a little clip here right around this time point. But yeah, so I thought that would be a good kind of reason to talk about emergency funds. Emergency funds are kind of one of the staples to financial freedom. It allows you, or really affords you, breathing room whenever something like this happens. I'm pretty upset about it tearing because I just had surgery on my other ankle earlier in February. I put another clip of what I look like doing that here. But yeah, so let's jump into it. Let me grab my iPad. Yeah, so let's get into it. Why you need an emergency fund. So an emergency fund, again, when we talk about financial freedom, I would break it down into, first, starting an emergency fund, two, figuring out how much money you're going to invest every month, building up that consistent investment practice, and then going back and, adding more to that fund over time. This is, very similar to like Dave Ramsey. Definitely, got it from / inspired from him. It's just a great idea. I think regardless of the amount, right, you can debate over the amount. I highly encourage you not to get stuck on that. Just have some funds that are in a completely separate bucket, not in your checking account, because when stuff happens like you tearing your Achilles tendon, I have decent insurance, but there's still out-of-pocket cost. When I had surgery and earlier in February of this year, I still had to pay a couple $1,000s. I think it was like $3,000 or $4,000 out of pocket out of a surgery that cost me, or cost $30,000. Cost is in quotes because this is America and they just charge whatever they want because they know the insurance company's gonna pay for it. But we don't have to get into that right now. Yeah, so first I kind of want to talk about, the downsides, or really the cost of not having an emergency fund, and, why having one is really going to set you apart on your financial journey. So I have my computer pulled up over here. One of the glaring problems in America is that most Americans, if, an emergency happens, can't come up with $1,000 cash. Right, and that might be you, and that's okay, right? It's recognizing that that's a problem and prioritizing fixing it, right? $1,000, having $1,000 cash, and not having to use a credit card and accrue debt when life happens is super critical to financial freedom. Now, if you have money in the market, if say you have $10,000 invested in the market, and an emergency happens, you could sell out some of your investments, right? Turn that into cash and then cover your costs. But one, it's probably gonna be a few days of lag in that process. And two, you might be, that might cause a tax event, or, you might lock in some losses on something that could appreciate later. So it's always good to just have that emergency fund, just cash, ready to go, ready to deploy for all of the stuff that life throws at you. When we talk about, bankruptcy in America, and actually let me look this up really quick. Hold on. We're gonna look up US bankruptcy rates. PBS.org article found that 1 in 6 Americans have past due healthcare bills on their credit card. Report a debt totaling $81 billion in total. And I can't remember where the statistic is, but it's a pretty well known, fact that medical debt medical bills cause tons of Americans to go into debt every day, and then also to file bankruptcy. There are tons of reasons for that, and systemic problems that we could talk about. The fact that living life and getting old should not bankrupt us as Americans. Totally agree with that. But really, that's part of a larger system, and it's up to us as individuals to do what we can with the things that we can control. And so definitely having an emergency fund, being able to afford insurance or having money aside for insurance. All of these are just things that we have to do today, despite how bad and crappy our medical system is. Quite frankly, I've had 4 surgeries now, or this will be my 4th one when I get this fixed. I can tell you they're expensive. My hospital visit, I just went into get this checked out right after it was torn. It was like $4,000, right, that they're charging. Exceptionally expensive, and we just got to deal with it. So that's really why an emergency fund is so important. It doesn't have to be medical, right? It could be something like you have a car. Maybe you have a used car, and if something happens with your car, right? I remember first car that I bought, I needed to change the alternator, the brakes, even just a simple brake work could cost you $400, right? That's a decent chunk of change, especially if you don't have it saved up, right? And you could swipe your credit card, sure, but how long is it going to take you to pay that off? How long are you going to not be able to do the things that you normally do because now you have to, come up with the money to pay down that credit card debt instead of doing that first? Imagine, instead of like, okay, I can't go out for the next 2 months because I need to pay down this debt, you could just do that now, have that chunk of change set aside, and then when life happens, you're good to go. You're ready to go. You pay it down. You slowly start to build up that fund again, but you can still keep doing the things that you normally would do. It really just gives you so much peace of mind. I can tell you, I've been so broke. Like, I've been broke, guys. It's compared to where I am in life now, I'm doing pretty good now, but like, I've been so broke that one summer in college, I squatted in an apartment. That's how broke I was, right? Literally any bill, any unexpected thing would just clean me out. And I've been cleaned out multiple times in my early 20s, or when I was like 18, 19, starting college. I just didn't have any money. And I didn't know people that could give me money, and so I was just working, and really just working, and every dollar that I made was to just like survive. I was just scraping by. And that's cool when you're younger. I get it, it's fine, but when you do that for a few years, it will wear you out. It wore me out. I don't want to still have that grind in me, but that's not something that I want to do for a protracted amount of time. It'll wear you down. You don't. Once you get over 25, I mean, it's you do what you got to do. If you're in that situation, I totally get it. But the sooner that you can get out, the better. But for those of you who are there now, and if you're watching this, trust me, I feel you. Despite what you might think about me now, it was a journey through hell to get to where I am today, and a lot of hard work along the way. So you can do it too. The first step is starting an emergency fund. So how much to start an emergency fund? People debate about this, and one of the most important things I want to say is don't do nothing because you're not sure of how much it should be. And that's just general finance advice. I know tons of people who they spend all this time doing math and all this stuff, and really the math is such a small part of it. Like, think of the math as like an observation, and after the fact, it's like, let's just look at what we did. It's almost more important to just do something, and you will be so much better off than 99% of people if you just put money somewhere, whether it's investing, whether it's saving. You will be so much further ahead if you just do something. Yeah, putting that money away is going to set you apart in massively meaningful ways. I mean, especially if you're someone who's younger, right? If you're in your early 20s or even younger, right? If you're still a teenager, and if you're someone who's saving some money up or creating an emergency fund, I guarantee you something is going to happen, and people are going to recognize, like, wow, like you were prepared, or like they're gonna ask you like, how did you know to do that, right? It's just a really smart thing to do. And as with most things, right, that are smart or important to do, most people don't do them. And the bar is pretty low. The bar is so exceptionally low. It took me a long time to do this because I was prioritizing like having fun and partying and all this, and just surviving, which kind of feeds that need to like have an outlet, have fun, because you're grinding so much. And so you don't want to, when you're grinding that hard, I get it. It's like, I don't have any money. I'm going to spend my last $10 on beer. Like, I get it. I totally get it. I don't want to grind all day, all night, and then tell me I can't spend my last $10 on myself. You can, but you just need to put it in the bank. And it is a journey. So start with the target. I'd say $500, $1,000 to start with that. But then long term, your goal should be to have an emergency fund that meets 3 or 6 months of your expenses. I say I think 3 for sure, 6 months. If you have a very stable, right, if you're pretty confident in the stability of your life right now, you can go with 3 months. If you have multiple income streams, you can go with 3 months. Or if you have like a sizable investment pool where even after your emergency funds are down, you can just draw down your investments. Very likely though, if you're watching this video, that's not the case. So I would say start with 1,000. It's gonna feel good. It's a nice little break point. And then from there, move on to multiple months of expenses. Expenses includes your rent, it includes all of your bills, it includes, the amount that you spend on food every month. It's everything that you need to survive, to where if you lost your job tomorrow, you know that you've got 3 months where you're not sweating. And that's really the power of an emergency fund. Versus, and maybe you've been in this situation, I know I have, you lose a job and now you're on the clock. It's like, okay, I've got 2 weeks. I've got 2 weeks before, I'm putting everything on the credit card. I gotta pay my rent on the credit card. I'm asking for money. I'm selling stuff out of my apartment, right? You know how many electronics I've sold because I didn't have money growing up? Totally get it. That's not a situation you want to be in, right? Like, you're hustling, and people wouldn't do what you got to do, but I'm telling you, hustle. Like, do some preemptive hustle. Think of it as like the preemptive hustle to knowing that stuff is going to hit the fan. Like, it's going to happen, right? Like, life is going to throw some stuff in front of your path, and if you got the money set aside, you'll be good to go. So again, $1,000 to start, 3 to 6 months after that, and that's really it. I also would advise putting this money in a different account. It should be hard to access. And here's really my thinking on that. If you have a credit card, right, and really what I do is I have an emergency fund. Something happens, I might just swipe it on my card. But now I have the funds, and I'll just go ahead and pay my card off, right away that week. But it takes a few days for the funds to move from accounts. I don't have a debit or a credit card with access to that actual fund account. So that money is just there truly to cover costs of emergencies. The credit card lets me do it immediately, but then I have the cash to cover that cost still, and then I can slowly build that up again. The problem with keeping it in the same account is that you will be highly tempted to spend it. Maybe, at least I was, for me, having it in a separate account, I just use Ally, really makes it simpler for me from a budgeting perspective. Just think of that as separate money. I hardly ever log into that account. It's just money. It's just a few grand that's there, and it just sits there, and I just check in on it. Sometimes I put more money in there. One of the things that I do is if I make a smart choice in life, and if I decide not to do something that was going to cost me money, I'll actually just toss those dollars directly into my savings, because that is money where I basically realized I was going to do something, I plan to spend that money, then I'm like, you know what? Instead of spending that $50, I'm just going to stay home, or maybe I don't go out or something. I don't buy a ticket that I was going to buy. I'll just put that in my savings account. So it's kind of like treating yourself and, rewarding yourself for making smart decisions. That's another kind of way that you can do that. Outside of that, I definitely wouldn't recommend having a massive amount in savings. Definitely want to invest your money into, either an IRA, 401k. If you're curious of what those things are, check out my other videos. I will link those in the description. And really, probably one of the most important things you can do for your financial future is to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button, because I put a lot of time and effort into making these, and I'm very passionate, and I'm really passionate about helping you guys, and I just appreciate it. So yeah, if you don't mind, hit the button, and If you have questions, let me know. Other than that, thank you for stopping by. Forrest Knight is out. See you in the next one.